Miss Clara wasn't just any teacher. She was the heart of dusty little Harmony Creek. The town, once a lively place, was now struggling under a relentless sun. For months, no rain had fallen. The creek that gave Harmony Creek its name was now just a cracked riverbed. The crops withered, and hope seemed to be drying up along with the land. Clara loved her students dearly. They were bright, curious kids, even though many came to school hungry. She often dipped into her meager savings to buy extra lunches or help families who were struggling to pay for necessities. She taught them reading, writing, and arithmetic, but more importantly, she taught them about kindness and resilience. The school, a small one-room building that had stood for generations, was the center of the community. But with the drought came hardship. Families moved away in search of work, and the school's enrollment dwindled. The school board made the difficult decision to close its doors. Miss Clara's heart ached. What would become of her students? She had used almost all her money to help the families, and now she was running out of food and water herself. The well in her yard was dry. The shelves in the town's general store were almost bare. Miss Clara knew she had to do something. But what? The weight of the town's despair pressed heavily on her shoulders. This wasn't just about her. It was about the future of Harmony Creek. She knew she had to find help, even if it meant leaving the only home she had ever known. The drought had been especially cruel to Harmony Creek. It wasn't just a dry spell. It was a slow, agonizing death for the land. The once fertile fields were now cracked and barren. The animals, both wild and domestic, suffered from thirst and hunger. The people were no better off. Families rationed their water, collecting every drop they could from leaky roofs and dusty puddles. Food was scarce. The general store, usually bustling with activity, was now a somber place with empty shelves. Even Mr. Abernathy, the store owner, a man known for his booming laugh, wore a worried frown. Miss Clara watched as her students came to school with hollow eyes and rumbling stomachs. She shared her own meager meals with them, knowing it wasn't enough but unable to bear their suffering. She organized games and activities to distract them from their hunger and fear, but it was a losing battle. The drought was a relentless enemy, and it was slowly crushing their spirits. Her savings dwindled to almost nothing. She had sold everything of value, her grandmother's necklace, her favorite books, to buy food for the children. She knew she couldn't stay any longer. She had to find help, even if it meant venturing into the unknown. The thought terrified her, but the image of her students' faces fueled her determination. She had to do it for them. The morning Miss Clara decided to leave, the sun rose like a fiery eye in the sky, promising another day of scorching heat. She packed a small bag with a few dried apples, a half-empty water bottle, and a worn map she had found in the schoolhouse. It wasn't much, but it was all she had. Before she left, she sat down at her small wooden table and wrote a note. It was addressed to the townspeople of Harmony Creek. "My dearest friends," she wrote, "I am leaving to find help. I know this is a difficult time for all of us, but I believe that we can get through this. I will do everything in my power to bring back food and water. Please don't lose hope. I will return." She folded the note carefully and placed it on the door of the general store, hoping someone would find it. Then, with a deep breath and a prayer in her heart, she set off. She walked towards the west, towards the faint outline of mountains in the distance. She knew it was a long and dangerous journey, but she was determined to succeed. The faces of her students were etched in her mind, giving her the strength to keep going. With each step, she whispered a silent promise. "I will not let you down." The vast, unforgiving landscape stretched before her, but Miss Clara pressed on, a tiny figure against the immensity of the desert. The desert was a cruel teacher. Each day, the sun beat down mercilessly, turning the sand into a shimmering oven. Miss Clara's water bottle emptied quickly, and her throat grew parched. The dried apples offered little relief from the gnawing hunger in her stomach. She walked for hours, her legs aching, her feet blistered. The landscape stretched endlessly before her, a monotonous expanse of sand, rocks, and thorny bushes. She followed the faint trail on the map, but often it disappeared, forcing her to rely on her instincts and the position of the sun. Memories of her students flickered in her mind like mirages. She remembered little Maria's bright smile, and Thomas's eagerness to learn, and Sarah's quiet kindness. These memories were her fuel, pushing her onward when her body screamed for rest. One evening, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues, Miss Clara stumbled upon a dry creek bed. She sank to her knees, exhausted and disheartened. She closed her eyes, picturing her students, their hopeful faces fading in the growing darkness. She whispered, "I'm trying, my dears. I'm trying." She remembered a lesson she taught them about resilience. She had told them that even in the darkest times, they must never give up hope. She took a deep breath, summoning the last of her strength. She would not give up. Not now. Not ever. She would keep walking. Far to the north of Harmony Creek, nestled in the foothills of the mountains, lay the vast Harding Ranch. It was a sprawling property, stretching as far as the eye could see, a testament to generations of hard work and careful stewardship. Mr. Harding, the current owner, was a man of the land. He knew its rhythms, its secrets, and its vulnerabilities. He was a wealthy man, but his wealth didn't define him. He was more comfortable in worn jeans and a Stetson hat than in a suit and tie. He cared deeply about the land and the people who depended on it. He had seen droughts before, but this one was different. This one was relentless. Mr. Harding was known throughout the region for his generosity. He quietly supported local charities, helped struggling farmers, and provided scholarships for promising students. He believed in giving back to the community that had given him so much. One day, as he was preparing to survey his land, his foreman, a grizzled old cowboy named Jeb, approached him with a worried look. "Mr. Harding," Jeb said, "I've noticed more buzzards circling than usual. Something ain't right." Mr. Harding frowned. Buzzards were nature's cleanup crew, but an unusual number of them often meant trouble. He decided to investigate. Mr. Harding saddled his favorite horse, a sturdy Appaloosa named Spirit, and set off across the vast expanse of his ranch. The sun beat down on his back, but he barely noticed. His mind was focused on the circling buzzards and the potential trouble they signified. He rode for hours, carefully scanning the landscape. He checked the watering holes, making sure his cattle had access to what little water remained. He examined the parched vegetation, noting the areas that were most affected by the drought. He knew that the situation was dire, and he was doing everything he could to mitigate the damage. As he rode further into the more remote parts of his ranch, he noticed a strange stillness in the air. The usual sounds of the desert, the chirping of crickets, the rustling of bushes were absent. It was as if the entire landscape was holding its breath. He crested a small rise and saw them. The buzzards were circling a spot in the distance, their shadows darkening the sand. He urged Spirit forward, his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't know what he would find, but he knew it couldn't be good. He had a sinking feeling in his gut. The drought was taking its toll, and he feared the worst. As Mr. Harding approached the spot where the buzzards were circling, the stench of decay filled the air. He dismounted Spirit and cautiously walked forward, pushing aside thorny bushes and jagged rocks. Then he saw her. Lying on the ground, beneath the scorching sun, was a woman. She was emaciated, her clothes torn and dusty. Her skin was cracked and dry, and her lips were parched and bleeding. She was unconscious, barely breathing. Mr. Harding's heart lurched. He recognized the signs of severe dehydration and starvation. He knelt beside her, gently touching her forehead. She was burning with fever. He felt a surge of anger and helplessness. How could someone be left to suffer like this? He had to do something, and he had to do it fast. He quickly assessed the situation. She needed water, shade, and medical attention. He carefully lifted her into his arms. She was feather-light, almost weightless. He carried her back to Spirit, his strong arms cradling her fragile body. He knew that every second counted. He had to get her back to the ranch, where he could give her the care she desperately needed. He whispered a silent prayer, hoping he wasn't too late. He had to save her. Mr. Harding rode Spirit as fast as he dared, his precious cargo cradled in his arms. The ranch house seemed miles away, shimmering in the heat haze. He urged Spirit onward, whispering encouragement to both the horse and the woman in his arms. When they finally reached the ranch, he didn't waste a second. He called out for Maria, his housekeeper, a woman known for her gentle hands and caring heart. "Maria, I need your help." Maria rushed out, her eyes widening in shock when she saw Miss Clara. Without a word, she helped Mr. Harding carry her inside and laid her gently on a bed in a cool, darkened room. Mr. Harding quickly sent Jeb to fetch Doc Evans, the nearest doctor, who lived several hours away. Then he and Maria began to tend to Miss Clara. They gently bathed her face with cool water, trying to lower her fever. Maria carefully spoon-fed her small sips of water, praying that she would swallow. Mr. Harding watched anxiously, his brow furrowed with concern. He knew that Miss Clara's chances were slim, but he refused to give up hope. He had found her, and he would do everything in his power to save her. He felt a strange connection to this woman, a sense of responsibility that he couldn't explain. He just knew that he had to help her. He had to give her a chance. Days turned into nights as Miss Clara lay in the darkened room, her life hanging in the balance. Doc Evans arrived, his face grim. He examined her thoroughly, shaking his head slowly. "She's in a bad way, Harding," he said. "Malnutrition, dehydration, severe exhaustion. It's a miracle she's still alive." He prescribed a course of treatment, intravenous fluids, small amounts of nourishing food, and plenty of rest. He warned Mr. Harding and Maria that it would be a long and difficult recovery. Maria tended to Miss Clara with unwavering dedication, coaxing her to eat and drink, changing her dressings, and speaking to her in soothing tones. Mr. Harding stayed by her side, checking on her constantly, his anxiety etched on his face. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was somehow responsible for her well-being. Slowly, gradually, Miss Clara began to show signs of improvement. Her fever subsided, and she started to take small sips of water on her own. She opened her eyes for brief periods, her gaze unfocused and confused. One morning, as Mr. Harding sat beside her bed, she looked at him and whispered, "Thank you." Her voice was weak and raspy, but the words were clear. Mr. Harding smiled, relief flooding through him. She was going to make it. She was going to live. The long nights of worry were finally starting to pay off. As Miss Clara regained her strength, she began to spend more time sitting on the porch, watching the sun rise and set over the vast landscape. She marveled at the beauty of the ranch, the rolling hills, the grazing cattle, and the endless sky. One afternoon, Mr. Harding joined her on the porch, settling into a rocking chair beside her. He offered her a glass of lemonade, and they sat in comfortable silence for a while. Finally, Miss Clara turned to him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Mr. Harding," she said, "I don't know how to thank you for saving my life." Mr. Harding smiled gently. "You don't have to, Miss Clara. I just did what anyone would have done." "But you did more than anyone would have done," she insisted. "You took me in. You cared for me. You gave me a second chance." She paused, taking a deep breath. "I want to tell you why I was out there, wandering in the desert." And so, she began to recount her story. She told him about Harmony Creek, about the drought, about the closing of the school, and about her desperate decision to leave in search of help. She spoke with passion and conviction, her voice filled with love for her students and her community. Mr. Harding listened intently, his expression growing more and more somber. He was deeply moved by her story, by her courage, and by her unwavering dedication to her students. He knew then that he had to do something to help. He couldn't stand by and watch as Harmony Creek withered and died. He knew he had the means to make a difference, and he was determined to use them. Over the next few weeks, as Miss Clara's health improved, a deep bond began to form between her and Mr. Harding. They spent hours talking, sharing stories about their lives, their dreams, and their hopes for the future. Ms. Clara learned about Mr. Harding's passion for the land, his commitment to sustainable ranching, and his quiet acts of philanthropy. She discovered that beneath his gruff exterior lay a kind and generous heart. Mr. Harding, in turn, learned about Ms. Clara's unwavering dedication to her students, her innovative teaching methods, and her belief in the power of education to transform lives. He was impressed by her resilience, her optimism, and her unwavering commitment to her community. They discovered that they shared a common vision, a vision of a world where everyone had access to basic necessities, where communities thrived, and where future generations could inherit a healthy planet. As they talked, they realized that they were kindred spirits, brought together by fate and united by a shared purpose. Their conversations sparked new ideas, new possibilities, and a renewed sense of hope. They began to see a future where Harmony Creek could be revitalized, where the school could be reopened, and where the community could once again flourish. They started making plans, brainstorming ideas, and outlining strategies. They were a formidable team, a wealthy rancher and a determined teacher, united in their commitment to making a difference. They knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but they were ready to face it together. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Mr. Harding turned to Miss Clara, his eyes filled with determination. "Miss Clara," he said, "I've made a decision. I'm going to help Harmony Creek." Miss Clara looked at him, her heart filled with hope and gratitude. "Mr. Harding, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," he replied with a smile. "Say yes to giving Harmony Creek a second chance." He explained his plan. He would use his wealth to bring water back to the town. He would drill new wells, install irrigation systems, and provide water filters for every household. He would also provide food supplies, seeds, and tools to help the farmers replant their crops. And, most importantly, he would reopen the school, ensuring that the children of Harmony Creek had access to a quality education. Miss Clara was overwhelmed with emotion. Tears streamed down her face as she realized the magnitude of Mr. Harding's generosity. "Mr. Harding," she said, her voice trembling, "you are an angel." "I'm just a man who wants to make a difference," he replied humbly. "And I can't do it without you, Miss Clara. I need your help. I need your knowledge, your passion, and your unwavering commitment to Harmony Creek." Miss Clara smiled, her eyes shining with hope. "I'm with you, Mr. Harding," she said. "Every step of the way." They were going to save Harmony Creek together. The day Miss Clara and Mr. Harding returned to Harmony Creek, it was like a scene from a dream. The town, once desolate and despairing, buzzed with anticipation. People lined the streets, their faces etched with a mixture of hope and disbelief. As their truck pulled into town, a cheer erupted. Children ran alongside the vehicle, waving homemade banners and shouting Miss Clara's name. The adults followed close behind, their eyes filled with tears of joy. Mr. Harding and Miss Clara stepped out of the truck, hand in hand. They were greeted by Mr. Abernathy, the general store owner, who rushed forward to embrace them. "Miss Clara, you're back," he exclaimed, his voice choked with emotion. "And you've brought help." Mr. Harding smiled warmly. "We're here to stay, Mr. Abernathy," he said, "and we're here to help rebuild Harmony Creek." Immediately, the work began. Trucks filled with supplies, food, water, seeds, tools arrived in town. Construction crews started drilling new wells and installing irrigation systems. Volunteers from neighboring towns came to lend a hand. Miss Clara, her energy renewed, began preparing the schoolhouse for reopening. She cleaned the classrooms, organized the books, and created new lesson plans. She couldn't wait to see her students again, to share her love of learning with them, and to help them build a brighter future. Harmony Creek was coming back to life, thanks to the kindness of a wealthy rancher and the unwavering dedication of a determined teacher. A true miracle was happening. Within weeks, Harmony Creek was transformed. The new wells gurgled with fresh, clean water. The irrigation systems nourished the parched fields, and soon, green shoots began to emerge from the soil. The farmers, their spirits lifted, worked tirelessly, planting crops and tending to their livestock. The general store, once empty and forlorn, was now stocked with food and supplies. Mr. Abernathy's booming laugh echoed through the aisles once more, bringing a sense of normalcy and joy back to the town. And the schoolhouse, once silent and abandoned, was now filled with the sounds of children learning, laughing, and playing. Miss Clara, her face radiant with happiness, taught her students with renewed passion and dedication. She instilled in them a love of learning, a sense of community, and a belief in the power of hope. The children, their bellies full and their minds engaged, thrived under Miss Clara's tutelage. They learned about the importance of water conservation, sustainable farming practices, and the value of community cooperation. They were the future of Harmony Creek, and they were determined to build a better world for themselves and for generations to come. Harmony Creek had been given a second chance, thanks to the generosity of Mr. Harding and the unwavering dedication of Miss Clara. The town had not only survived the drought but had emerged stronger and more resilient than ever before. It was a testament to the power of compassion, community, and the enduring spirit of hope. Years passed, and Harmony Creek continued to flourish. Mr. Harding and Miss Clara worked side by side, ensuring that the town remained sustainable and resilient. They implemented new farming techniques, promoted water conservation, and invested in renewable energy. The school became a model for rural education, attracting students from neighboring towns. Ms. Clara, now a seasoned educator, mentored young teachers and developed innovative curriculum that focused on environmental stewardship and community engagement. Mr. Harding, his heart filled with joy, spent his days working on the ranch and volunteering in the community. He established a foundation to support rural schools and provide scholarships for deserving students. The bond between Mr. Harding and Miss Clara deepened over time. They became partners in life, sharing their love, their dreams, and their commitment to Harmony Creek. They were an inspiration to everyone who knew them, a testament to the power of compassion, resilience, and the enduring spirit of hope. One sunny afternoon, as they sat on the porch of the schoolhouse, watching the children play, Mr. Harding turned to Miss Clara and smiled. "We did it," he said. "We saved Harmony Creek." Miss Clara smiled back, her eyes filled with love and gratitude. "We did it together," she replied, and they knew that their journey, which had begun with hardship and despair, had led them to a place of peace, purpose, and everlasting love. The future was bright. The story of Miss Clara and Mr. Harding became a legend in the region, a tale told and retold around campfires and in classrooms, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can prevail. It was a story about compassion, about resilience, and about the power of community. It taught people that even the smallest act of kindness can make a world of difference. It showed them that even when faced with seemingly insurmountable challenges, they could overcome them through perseverance and cooperation. And it reminded them that true wealth lies not in material possessions but in the bonds of human connection. Harmony Creek became a beacon of hope, a shining example of what could be achieved when people work together for the common good. It attracted visitors from far and wide who came to learn about its sustainable practices, its innovative educational programs, and its strong sense of community. And Miss Clara and Mr. Harding, the unlikely heroes of this remarkable transformation, continued to inspire and uplift everyone they met. They lived a life filled with purpose, gratitude, and everlasting love. They proved that even in the most arid of landscapes, a seed of hope, nurtured with compassion and dedication, can blossom into a vibrant and thriving community. The end.